Big John Fury was at the fight. The Furies were there. And
really?
I think back then, you put yourself in a position to go on and change your family's life and everything you've ever dreamed of from an early stage of my career, to have it all ripped away. So that was frustrating. Got the wedding to think about. I got a rematch against somebody I generally don't like, and I don't say that about anybody, to be fair, but there's a lot of dislike and a lot of things said over the last couple of years.
Who would be on your, the top of the list for your next fight?
I want to fight Haney, I want to fight Garcia, I want to fight Teofimo Lopez. Get me these fights.
Well, look,
Sam wants the best for me, and Eddie wants what's best for me, but also himself. He needs to run a successful business.
Pure mentality. We were slipping away and you turned it around. That was fucking beautiful.
Surely Jack Catterall has done enough to move forward to another shot at the world title.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of action here in Manchester, England, and the new WBO International Super Lightweight Champion, Jack El Gato Catterall.
I fought the best of him, used the best so far, and he definitely deserves the world title next. Give this man a round of applause.
Jack Catterall, I believe, could well be the #1 in the division. Time to finally prove it. And in the words of the great Sam Jones, right hand on God, this man needs a world title shot next.
Charlie, Manchester, the whole of the United Kingdom come out to support me. Thank you.
Hi guys, welcome to our new podcast, Going Off Plan, with me, Michael Leighton, the CEO of API Global, and joining me today is Lewis Finn, the Global Sales Director for API. Welcome, Lewis.
Thank you.
And we have a very special guest for our first podcast. I want to introduce to you a good friend of the company and the new WBO Intercontinental Super Lightweight Champion, Mr. Jack Catterall.
Nice
Welcome,
one, guys.
Jack.
Thank you for having me.
It's absolutely brilliant to have you here, mate. So first and foremost, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
You're in Dubai on a well-deserved family holiday, I believe.
Yeah, so we're over here, 2 weeks holiday. It's been nice to just switch off, not think about boxing, and just spend some time with the family. It's been a busy year. It's been a good year. It's nice to just have a bit of downtime. Yeah,
well, let's touch on that, shall we, first? Obviously, a unanimous points victory over Regis Prograis. Firstly, congrats on that. Absolutely amazing performance again. I was at the earlier fight this year. I couldn't make it over. I was due to come at the end of August, of course, and you unfortunately had the injury, which meant your fight was delayed. But just tell us, how was that night for you?
That night was phenomenal. So I found myself in a position after the rematch with Josh Taylor, in a great position. I'd beat him, the former undisputed champion, but kind of all the world titles were tied up. So as a fighter, naturally you want to fight, you want to stay active and busy. Regis Prograis was coming off a defeat in December last year against another undisputed champion, Devin Haney.
Yeah.
Regis is a former 2-time world champion, and he wanted to climb back up and become 3-time. So we're both under the same promoter, and we find ourselves wanting to fight with no world title available, I believe, and I think everybody else in the boxing world and wider public believed it was a great fight to make, although there were no world titles. But
it's a big risk for you, right?
It was a massive risk for you. I think I need them kind of situations, high pressure, a lot of pressure. And I put that pressure on myself. I get up every day and I work hard under that pressure. It was a high pressure fight with, I wouldn't say a little reward at the end, but I think the fight, not for the world title, kind of gave me that hunger and motivation to beat him to go on to become champion.
Yeah.
Because Taylor took the belts off him 5 years ago, didn't he? At the O2 we were just talking about.
He did, yeah. So Regis was a world champion. He had what's called a unified fight with Taylor, where belts come together and two champions fight. He took the belts. Regis then went on and rebuilt and become world champion again. So credit to him, he's proved he's one of the elite in our weight category.
Well, that's a massive point, isn't it? If you don't win that fight, we'll get on to the Josh Taylor saga in a little bit and talk the viewers through that. But if you don't, you've got to beat whoever's in front of you. And Regis is a serious fighter. He's proven. So, hats off to you, because if you don't win that fight, then is the world title fight on the table, or
no? The world title fight's not on the table. There's not like tournaments. You're not playing different teams every week. It's an individual sport, high pressure job.
Sure.
You're looking at lower level title fights to try and rebuild that momentum, and that can take some years sometimes. So every fight at this stage now is a must-win fight.
Yeah, and it's a relatively short career, right? As a boxer, you've got to be in peak physical condition, haven't you? So the clock's the clock's always ticking, isn't it?
Of course, and I took some great advice from a good friend of mine, Carl Frampton, some years ago. Again, former multi-weight world champion. You've got to look after your body. It's a short career. I'm 31, 32 next year. I'm reaching that stage in my career now where I'm involved in big headline arena fights. Sure. I want to make the most of it. I want to be involved in them all. I want to fight all the top guys in my division.
What suited you more, Taylor or Prograis?
I think the second Taylor fight, there was a lot of needle in that fight. So you've got to look at Taylor's style of fighting. He's very aggressive, come forward. That works perfect for me. I think people who appreciate my style, very relaxed, very, what's the word? I can read the punches, the distance, the timing.
You can't punch well.
So I was quite punching well, and he come in, and it made it even me where with Regis, although he's aggressive, I think for the early rounds that Regis fight, it was more a case of getting the distance.
Yeah, quite
tactical. You only have to look at his record. He's only been beat twice, but he's got probably over 75% knockouts, real strong fighter. So it was kind of breaking him down, figuring out the rhythms in a couple early rounds, and then I think it was after the knockdown in round 5 where I think we can agree it wasn't a knockdown, but as the rule book goes, my glove touched the canvas, I fell off balance, so there were no complaints. It's all right. This is a 10-8 round now to him, so I probably needed that. In hindsight, I needed that to give me that kick.
So let's look at that. So you're in the Co-op Live. I believe it's the first boxing event held in the arena. I came to your press conference a few months back, and it's a fantastic venue, isn't it? You've got over 12,000 people watching you. You slip in the 5th. Where's your head at? How do you get yourself into a mental position to come back and drive? It's gone down as a knockdown. So psychologically, talk me through that. Yeah,
I think like anything, I'm in that environment every day. Obviously, it's a new experience for me, going down in the ring in front of everybody. I've got phenomenal coaches in Jamie and Nigel, but that's the fine line between then going out and making the mistakes. I knew that I couldn't come out rushing towards him with being such a big puncher. I just had to creep and do things the right way.
Sure. And you got there, didn't you? You scored a couple of knockdowns in the 9th, and you really went from strength to strength from round 5 forward, didn't you?
Yeah, I think so. I think the fight turned after the halfway point. I think I finished really strong. I had the 2 knockdowns, and I think as the fight went on, my timing got better, and I felt good in there, I think. And I've not touched on it because I'm not one to make excuses, and there is no excuses. I won the fight, but I think the fight got delayed. I had the injuries.
It's tough, isn't it? Because, you need such a lead into a boxing fight that you've got to, if you're not absolutely on points on the day, it's tough luck almost, isn't it? You've just got to get in there and
one
make it happen.
night, that 30-minute window to win a fight where you're preparing all year round, really, 6, 8, 10, 12, 15 weeks. And you've got to have your body, your mindset in a perfect condition for 30 minutes.
Within the fight, so Prograis, obviously, the coaches are saying coming into round 6, he's probably slipping ahead. Was there any point in that fight you went, he's just outclassing me? And I suppose on the flip side, was there a point in the fight where you went, actually, I've got the upper hand here, I'm going to do it?
Yeah, I think when you're in the ring in that moment, you can kind of read their body language. And I could see some kind of frustration in him. Although it was probably, I'd say, Nick in the other rounds, he wasn't winning the rounds where they were convincing him, he smashed him that round, he smashed him that round. He was just nicking him off me, so I knew he wasn't like a million miles away. I could see kind of frustrations in him. I could read the patterns that he was doing. He was throwing the jab, it was coming back down low, so I thought, I have to think of like the reasons why I do it, my motivation, my family, what I'm doing it for, and kind of that spurs me on, and I could break them patterns down. I thought, you know what, he's slowing down, he's 2-3 years older than me, he's had a lot of hard fights, like myself, where you think, it's only a matter of time, I'm going to catch him, and I'm positive, so you've got to stay on it and stay in the moment and be ready for it.
Yeah. So tell me about, because you've got some absolute characters in your camp, haven't you? Jamie Moore and Nigel Travers. Nige is some character.
Barmy.
He's barmy, but I mean that must That must be absolutely fantastic to have, the two very different guys with different characters supporting you, and then of course you've got your manager,
right hand to God,
and Eddie Hearn as your promoter, right? So I suppose what part do they all play in bringing you forward and supporting you in the fight? And then I suppose what's the difference between a manager and promoter? What does Sam do that Eddie doesn't?
Okay, so. Essentially, you have your boxing coaches. Typically, you'll have one. I'm fortunate enough to have two in Jamie and Nigel. I've got my two boxing coaches, a manager, Sam Jones. So Sam's job, you would say, is to negotiate with your promoter. So he speaks to Eddie Hearn, who then Sam will relay that information to me and Jamie.
Right. So Sam works with you day to day, much closer relationship, and your promoter's out there making the big fights.
Yeah. So I mean, I might speak to Eddie Hearn couple of times a year.
Right, got you.
But yeah, Sam's kind of day to day. Do I need anything for training camp? Where we're going for training camp? Can I organise sparring partners?
And they've got quite an interesting relationship too, haven't they?
Yeah, it's funny and it's healthy. It's a healthy relationship.
Sure.
We see a lot of stuff online, but I think behind closed doors they do get on. Again, though, you've got to understand it's business. Not everybody's friends. We're here to do business. Sometimes you can have difficult conversations, and that's needed.
Yeah. Well, look,
Sam wants the best for me, and Eddie wants what's best for me, but also himself. He needs to run a successful business.
The fans want to see big events, don't they? They want to see big events held at major arenas, and
And I think that's sometimes the problem you get with boxing is people just duck each other consistently.
So
if you look at Mayweather and Pacquiao, they fought 10 years after they should.
Yeah,
Right?
I actually went to that fight. And what's interesting about boxing, actually, when you watch it live, is sometimes it looks like somebody else has won it. I think that's probably a Mayweather thing because he's the king of not being hit, isn't he? So from the stands, it was at the Vegas MGM, and I was probably 20 rows back.
We must have been there the same weekend. I was there that weekend, yeah. I had sparred him for the Pacquiao fight.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. And then 2 weeks before the fight, I flew to San Diego to spar Canelo. I did 2 weeks with Canelo for the James Kirkland fight. Come back on the day of Mayweather Pacquiao, but I couldn't afford a ticket, so I ended up watching it somewhere miles out.
There you go. He had Mayweather had the Burger King and Justin Bieber walking him into doing a ring walk with him. But Pacquiao was injured, wasn't he? But from the stands, it looked like Pacquiao had the better of him, but he just wasn't hitting him. He wasn't catching him. But Pacquiao was injured leading up to that fight, and he probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have fought him. It should have happened years earlier.
Yeah, and I think had he not fought him, then it probably would never happen.
Yeah, sure. Exactly that. So, yeah, you kind of, there's no option, is there? Right, great stuff. Well, look, let's just get back. Let's go rewind a little bit to Jack Catterall as a Chorley boy, because, I mean, you can hear the following, can't you, in the arenas. You know, I was with you guys in Leeds, and all your Chorley boys, top lads, and salt of the earth, proper guys. I'm from Preston myself, so we're neighbours, aren't we? And what was it like growing up in Chorley, and how did you get into the boxing world?
Yeah, so born and raised in Chorley, a big family in Chorley, and I've tried a few different sports from early. So I'd done judo, wrestling. And I played around with these kind of physical combat sports, but I kind of weren't getting what I needed from it. I wanted that, like, let's have a fight where they were kind of, and I appreciate it now, you've got to practice your drills and do stuff, but you had to be 10 years old to join Chorley Amateur Boxing Club. I'd gone down there at 9, he said, come back next year. I was like, need to get there. So 10 years old, day after my birthday, straight down there, got the gloves on. And at the time, you could only have your first amateur fight at 11, so I trained for a full year.
Oh, you straight in? As soon as you could fight, you were ready to go.
So I trained for a full year from 10 to 11, had my first fight, got beat. But I kind of knew from then I loved it.
Did you have a natural talent straight away, or is it something you obviously hone it over time, right? But did you just feel fast and strong? And I mean, at 11 years old, within reason, right? Or is it a passion that you had?
I don't think I was given a talent, but I've certainly something that has, over years, I think you've got to spend so much time to dedicate the commitment. And you know what, I've got that passion for it.
Wow.
I suppose it's a constant adrenaline rush, hasn't it, since 10 basically till 31 of getting punched in the face and punching people.
And you know what, when I was an amateur boxer from 10 till 19, I never had this vision of becoming a world champion, headlining shows throughout the UK. It it was my little hobby. This is what I love doing.
Yeah.
I love being fit, being able to look after myself, going to the gym. It just happens that boxing was that kind of fix for me. So
Sure. Yeah,
and then only become after I turned 19, I turned professional. Started winning a few fights and thought, you know what, I think I can have a go at this. And then just from there, it was just one fight at a time, just seeing right next step.
And were you ever tempted, like lots of athletes are, to go out with your mates and have a drink and this and that, you know?
I've got a lot of different groups of friends, so I've got the lads that will be in the pub 3-4 nights a week. They'll have a drink, and listen, I get on with them, but that's not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
And they support me, and I think they respect me for that.
Well, you're having a cup of tea.
I'm having a cup of tea now.
A cup of tea is your cup of tea, isn't it?
and kind of, you know what, respect to them because they respect it. They don't be texting, calling, we're going doing this. They know I'm busy, I'm training. We'll have a catch up a couple of times a year, but I like to just do me and do what I like to do.
Yeah, fair enough. And was there a defining moment in where you thought, well, actually, before we go into that, can you remember your first fight?
Yes.
So tell us about your first fight.
You'll know what it is. Rivington Barn.
Rivington? No way.
Rivington Barn.
Yeah.
So we're talking about like a little countryside just outside of Chorley. You can see.
And
you can see my new apartment from Rivington.
It's kind of a venue, isn't it? It's like a big pub.
Yeah, so they hold like little weddings there, different occasions. But yeah, so my first fight, I don't think they got the steps to the ring, so they lifted me into the ring. I was always quite small. I'm not the tallest now, so yeah, 11 years old, got in the ring. I've got some footage of it still, and
brilliant.
Big John Fury was at the fight. The Furies were there, and
really,
I think back then, God, what year this has been? It'll have been 2004, was it?
Yeah, 2004.
Because I always remember being a kid, being in these venues, everybody smoking, the room's dead cloudy.
Yeah, proper. Like the old York Hall with Green,
so,
where everyone's on top of each other. There have been some great fights.
I remember that
there.
fight. And you know what? The kid that I boxed, and I remember, and there's not much I remember, apart from boxing stuff. I don't remember primary, high school, but ended up fighting the kid 4 times.
Did you?
So he beat me. He beat me with 2 apiece. He beat me in the first fight. We've gone on and had 70 odd amateur fights, 2 apiece, and I think he's doing well now, but I think when we turned 15, 16, he took the other route. He was in and out of prison.
Right, okay.
A few difficulties, but yeah, he seemed, I think he's got kids now. He seems like he's doing well.
Were there any kids sort of going through amateur where you went, he's going to be unbelievable as a pro, and just a bit like this fella that you just mentioned, but was there anyone else that sort of just didn't
it's
pursue
a mad
it?
sport, and I speak about it with Jamie sometimes. So when I turned professional, we've got a group of lads who are all turning professional at a similar time, similar age. You've known them from the amateur circuit.
Yeah.
I can't remember many now that are still actively fighting. I've been fighting, 12, 13 years. And I think there's a lot of factors, injuries, overtraining, losing fights, kind of outside noise, getting distracted from the sport. And on the flip side, there's phenomenal amateurs that will turn professional and not do nothing.
Yeah. And I think a lot of them, they probably give up because in the earlier years, the pay is nowhere near what the pay is sort of when you're fighting a world title fight, right? I remember Tony Bellew come out and said, I got 10 grand for this fight, but I give 5 to him, 2 to him, 1 to
it's
him.
phenomenal. And
I've
you know
got
what?
3 grand left and I've got taxed.
In a nice way, this is why it's nice to have companies that help out and come on board. It's a difficult sport. It's a lonely sport, and you're not part of a football team where you're playing every week. You're training for these fights, and I'm in a gym now where kind of the landscape of it's changed. So I've gone from having Marty Murray, Rocky Fielding, Tommy Coyle, Carl Frampton, all the older boys in the gym where they've all kind of retired now. So we've got a great group of lads in the gym, but a lot of younger fighters who are at the start of their professional journeys. And it's great to kind of give the advice and support and kind of point them in the direction.
So I was going to mention your stable mates. So who are your stable mates? Talk us through. I met a couple of them, but
yeah. So God, I don't want to miss any off there. We've got probably 10 fighters in the gym at the moment. We've got one girl, Hannah Robinson. She's up from the northeast, lovely girl, and a load of fresh face in the gym. Alfie Middle Miss Manchester, Cameron Vong, again from Newcastle.
Yeah, so I met Cam in Leeds.
Yeah, so Cameron's
he's a good lad, isn't he?
Just relocated to Chorley. He's moved to Buckshaw Village.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
so he's made a big sacrifice at 20, 21, 22 years old.
He's northeast, isn't he?
He's from Blythe.
Yeah.
Moved to Chorley, made the sacrifice. And he's stuck in now. He's had 6 fights. He's looked unbelievable. Very, very outgoing, very confident in his ability. And from what I see behind closed doors in the gym every day, I think he's the full package.
Really?
Really do.
Yeah, no, he's definitely got kind of the image it takes to be a pro boxer, isn't he? And it's he's backing it up, I suppose. But like you say, he's 6-6, right?
He's 6-6. He's got a very tough fight coming up, November the 30th.
Okay,
in
good.
Birmingham against a fighter that's only ever been beat twice off some top level fighters in the country. So this is a real test for Cameron, but he's ticking all the boxes. He's doing what's asked of him every day.
Yeah.
And I think as long as he stays on that and he keeps listening to the right people around him, I think he can go all the way.
So he's moved down to Chorley to spend more time. Because you're very close, aren't you? He's a good,
yes, we're very close, so it made sense. He's moved from Blythe. He was in a shared accommodation just outside of Manchester. Found himself a bit bored.
Yeah.
And we're very accommodating in Chorley. So I said, you know what, come down here.
That's great.
I'm not moving you in, but you can stay close by.
Yeah, but that's brilliant, isn't it?
He gets up with the family, we eat
give him
together.
the confidence as well.
Yeah,
And you've got Prince Naz's kids, haven't you?
We've got Sammy and Adam in the gym. They've started their journeys off. So we've got Sammy's doing the Misfits boxing.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is exciting in itself. I had a fight in Dublin a couple of months ago, and he got a win. And Adam Hamid as well. I think he's 3 fights now as a professional.
Yeah. Okay.
Winning record. A lot of pressure on their shoulders. A lot of
sure.
It must be. Yeah.
Yeah, but they seem to be dealing with it well again. They've relocated to Manchester. They've got apartments in Manchester, and they're kind of knuckling down and on ignoring all the outside noise and doing what's asked of them.
And it's interesting because you see sort of with boxers, sort of there's 2 types of backgrounds. One's sort of been given everything on a plate, and one that have sort of not been dragged up, but they fought to get where they are. Right? Do you typically see a difference in personalities or how they perform in the ring if they've been given it easier than others?
You know what? I think you would. I've not seen it yet. And listen, time will be the tale, but I think from what I've seen so far, I've seen them in situations where they could have maybe got a way out of it, but I think they feel like they've got a point to prove.
Yeah.
Unless it gets really tough, and listen, it might not be for them, but from what I see up to now, they're doing what's asked of them, they're training hard, and they want to be respected, and they don't want to compete with the dad, and I think the dad said it, listen, there won't be another like me.
Yeah.
But they're passionate about it, they want to do it, so... And they appreciate they've got a head start, they've got the name Hamed.
Yeah, but with that, they've got pressure, right?
They've got pressure.
That other people may not have.
And they understand where, when I turned professional, I'm fighting for £400-500 for quite a few years.
Yeah.
They're getting paid good money, but they know that, so I think the heads are down and they're working hard.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, maybe there's another API sponsorship on the horizon somewhere there.
Don't put them next door to me, in Manchester.
Right, so I guess one thing that you obviously work very, very hard. In 2024, there's been a couple, I think Josh Taylor got injured just before the last fight, and then you've had an injury. So you've trained probably harder than you usually would. Just talk us through, before we get into the Josh Taylor bit, talk us through what your week would look like, your standard week.
Okay, so we've got a fight coming up. It's Monday morning, and I've got a week scheduled now, so... We rewind a little bit. So the fight gets announced. I speak to Jamie, to Sam, to Johnny, my strength coach, and between us we have a kind of a formula, so to speak, of what the next 8, 10, 12 weeks are going to look like. And that's a combination of running, sparring, hitting the bags, studying the opponent and the kind of patterns he does, and then as the weeks go by, you're implementing stuff into sparring, the recovery stuff, strength and conditioning, kind of a mix of all different kind of things. Typically I train twice a day, so I'll be up in the morning, in the gym for a couple hours, back home, rest, recovery, physios, back out in the gym in the evening.
Sounds familiar, that, actually, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, mate, yeah. We go 3 times a day usually, but whatever.
And on the analysis of your opponent, who's doing that? Is that with Jamie and Nigel, or is it you that's focusing on?
So I've always watched the opponents in and around my weight division. I enjoy boxing, so I'm watching them all. But this is Jamie and Nigel are watching them, and then they can come in the gym to me then and say, you know what, for X amount of hours now we're gonna, and it's very repetitive. A lot of stuff like that is you're working on drills, working on punch combinations, defensive drills of what's going to work and what's not. And I think a lot of fighters talk about going into a ring with a game plan A, B, C. I don't see it like that. I think as a fighter, you've got to be able to read what's in front of you at the blink of an eye, and adapt and overcome any situation. So I think it's about being prepared around the board for any scenario. So we can watch a tape of somebody for 12 weeks and he might come out and do something totally different. I think as long as you've got different things in your arsenal, you're able to see what's in front of you in a moment's notice and just adapt and overcome.
Yeah, okay. Look, I don't want to focus too much on the Josh Taylor saga, but look, it must have been great to settle the score on the second fight. What for you made the first fight so controversial?
What did you say, sorry?
What for you made the first fight so controversial?
I understood
other than the fact you beat him around the ring
listen,
as
so
well.
going into the first fight, I understood my position. I've been working so hard to get to a world title fight. Boxing politics had fucked me. It was a no, roadblock after roadblock. I got my opportunity, and I understand it. He ran through the division, picked up all the world titles, credit to him. I knew I had a job to do. Everybody wrote me off.
And you beat him.
A small number of people around me believed I could win. Me being one of them, went in there, won the fight.
Yeah.
The judges fucked us, the promoters fucked us, everybody fucked us, and it was disappointing. It was disappointing in the sport. You put yourself in a position to go on and change your family's life and everything you've ever dreamed of from an early stage of my career, to have it all ripped away. So that was frustrating. Again,
well, that's what people don't see, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's the side of it.
Winning that fight would have changed my life. Listen, I've took a different journey now, and what's done's done. We've drawn a line under it, but I'm on the rebuild and back, fighting hopefully for a world title early next year. But I'm passionate about the sport, so once it gets ripped away from you, there's two options. There's one, walk away, fuck it off, go and get a job. Two, show them that you mean business, and it wasn't an off night for Josh and an exceptional night for me, and that I do deserve to be up there. So,
and what do you think it is with the judges? Not just for your fight, but in general. So I look at Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano last week. Serrano battered her, in my opinion, right? And Katie Taylor got the majority win, or the unanimous win. What do you think it is with judges as to why they favour one over another? And is there sort of a prerequisite going in that we think he'll win this?
Yeah, it's such a difficult one, and there's so many different aspects around it. So for me, when I went to Scotland, it was the Josh Taylor show. Yeah. My name wasn't even on the ticket. The judges and their officials are up there for the week. They're being wined and dined by the promoter, who's not my promoter. So maybe they feel like that's the narrative. I don't know. And then I think it's such a difficult one because it's not a goal going behind the line. It's subject to an opinion. So what you like, you might not like.
Sure.
And I think that's the big divide in it. And where it should be from clean punches landing, that's not always the case. It can be going off defence, ring generalship, body shots, and it's a range of things. And it's what I think that individual judge or official likes to see. And there's so much grey area around it.
Yeah, so I was at the rematch in Leeds, and Bob Arum had a few words to say at the end of that. And for me, you absolutely schooled him again, right? Yeah. But he had to have his 2 pennies worth.
He had to have his 2 pennies. So me and Taylor, we box. He goes and gets beat by Lopez after saying we'd do the rematch. I've gone off and done my own journey, and I've headlined 3 shows in the UK, picked up some good victories, and we find ourselves fighting again in Leeds. You know what, Leeds were phenomenal. They turned out. Again, a lot of pressure on this fight. So Taylor gets injured. Me wedding 6 weeks after the fight. The fight gets pushed back 5 weeks. So I've got a week then to get married. Talk about pressure.
Oh, right.
Got the wedding to think about. I've got a rematch against somebody I generally don't like, and I don't say that about anybody, to be fair. But there's a lot of dislike and a lot of things said over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So a lot of pressure into this fight. I go in there. I believe they beat him up well and proper. Bob Arum, like you just said, he sat there ringside. I think he had a nap for a couple of rounds. He was, you know what? I have nothing bad to say about Bob. He's a very old man now. He's in his mid-90s.
Well, I remember messaging you after going, he's gone senile.
Yeah, he's talking about an old man who's promoted Muhammad Ali back in the day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, he's going to bat for his fighter, but
I think what's quite interesting is that the second fight never nearly happened, right? Taylor stepped up. Was it to 147 he stepped up?
He said that. He said that. Yeah, he was going to. So one by one, he had to relinquish 3 of the belts. So he's left with the WBO belt. Defends it against Lopez in America, gets beat, comes back home. Then we finally agreed terms to do the rematch, and I beat him.
Yeah.
So I guess let's go into what's next for you in your career. Obviously, you've set yourself up perfectly for a world title shot. Do you have your sights set on breaking America and who would be on your, the top of the list for your next fight?
You know what? Number one on the list would be Teofimo Lopez. He's the WBO world champion. For many years, I was mandatory for Taylor's WBO title. So that's kind of the backstory for me. I'm ranked highly in the WBO now.
Sure.
I believe Teofimo's not going to fight. If he does fight, let's get it on. If not, I think I'm number two, number one. Just had a victory at weekend. Arnold Barboza Jr., a great fighter from America, but one that I believe I can beat. So that'll be the first option. But I find myself in like you said, a great position now. I've had some great victories this year, and with one of the best and the best for me promotional companies in the world, Matchroom. I think 25, they deliver some big fights for me.
Fantastic.
And is the Haney or sort of the Garcia, is that interesting at all?
Yeah, so I've just seen, and listen, these are all things I'm ringing Sam about every day. I want to fight Haney, I want to fight Garcia, I want to fight Teofimo Lopez, get me these fights. But for me, it's about being fit and ready, and I know these opportunities will come. Ryan Garcia's serving a ban. He's fighting He's fighting in December in Tokyo in like a kind of exhibition fight. Haney's got beat off. Haney beat Regis Prograis in December. Smashed off Ryan Garcia. Don't know what he's doing. He seems like he's back in the gym. I would love to fight Haney.
So on the Haney and Garcia one, because I think the whole build-up was very controversial, right? I mean, you had Garcia getting on the scales, what looked like a bottle of beer transpired as water or something, as a bit of mind games. Like, how do you sort of see that playing out? Do you think Haney's going to recover from... Because he got pinged everywhere.
Yeah, he got from pillar to post. It was a very one-sided fight. And I know, listen, I'm totally against any drugs in boxing. I think it's atrocious. Everyone's lives are at risk, etc. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I only see what I see on social media, which is not always the truth. But for me, he got beat up bad. So it'd be interesting to see who he comes back against and how he can perform, and will he go on to win world titles? These are all questions that I guess we'll see in the future.
And then does a change in weight class, is that appealing? Like stepping down to fight Lomachenko, fighting Gervonta Davis, is that appealing or not?
For me, I'm
or is it doable?
So stepping down for me is not doable. I make 10 stone, 140 pounds. I've been doing that since 2012, so I've been making 10 stone for a lot of years. Kind of the goal or the plan for me is to win a world title and make some defences of it and test the waters at welterweight and move up. So, and like we've talked about, being a short career, I think I'm in the best years now where I can be involved in some big fights, and whether they come at light welterweight, I'll be open to them options.
Yeah, well, 2025 is definitely going to be your year, isn't it, for sure? Just on the weight thing, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because it's incredible how much weight a boxer will cut in order to make weight. So what do you walk around? What weight would you be today? Well, actually, you're on holiday, so it's probably a bad example. But what would you day today? What would you usually walk around at? And then what do you have to cut down to make weight? And then when I remember in Leeds, we went to San Carlo, didn't we? And you were carb loading. Yeah. So how much more weight do you put back on?
So I think a sensible weight for me to be walking around at is probably 11.5 stone.
Wow,
I've been
big difference.
I've been up to 12 stone where it's too heavy for my weight division. 11.5 stone's healthy. Then when we're in training camp, I think I perform best at 11 stone 2 and 3. So when kind of coming towards the end of camp, when you're finishing your sparring sessions, if I'm 11 stone, just over 11 stone, I'm performing perfectly.
Yeah.
So then I want to finish my training, my hard training sessions, which is like a week prior to the fight, at that optimal weight. So then you have a week then where you do a weight cut, and it's all science backed. It's all science. It's all been done by scientists, and the healthy way to do it. It's extreme and it's dangerous if it's not done right. But it's what's called a weight cut, where it's a manipulation of water, carbs, glycogen, salt, etc. And I'm fortunate enough to have a great team and a great group of people to be able to control that for me and tell me exactly what I need to do.
So what would that cut be in that last week? Sort of what weight are you talking?
So I'll probably wake up Monday morning of fight week around 11 stone mark, knowing that Friday morning at 10 a.m. I've got to make 10 stone. So I'll have a stone to do.
6 kg in it, 40 pounds.
It's incredible.
And then,
isn't it?
So
maybe we should have a go at it.
What's quite funny is the last fight was the first fight. They did a ceremonial weigh-in. So we weighed in the hotel lobby, or in the hotel conference room at 10 a.m, me and Regis. 2 officials, me and Regis got on the scales, 10 stone, 10 stone. So then you go away and you follow your protocol, your glycogen, your carbs, your hydration. But for me, you can't eat straight away, so it's all liquid based for about 5-6 hours before you have your first solid meal. So they said, we're going to do the ceremonial weigh-in at 6 p.m. at the Corn Exchange. So we've left the hotel. I've not had a solid meal yet. I'm on my way over there. We booked San Carlo again for 7 o'clock, thinking, do the ceremonial weigh-in, take the pictures, go and get me food. Got back on the scales for the pictures. 10 stone, 12 and a half.
Oh, wow.
Not a solid meal in me.
Wow.
Regis, I remember looking over, 10 stone 9, so I'd done a couple pound more. And that's just with fluid. Then I went out, had my tea, breakfast the next day, etc.
And is there a limit to what you can put on?
So for 3 of the belts, the WBC, WBO, WBA, no limit, unless it's agreed mutually between both the parties. The IBF, the red belt, have a rule. 8 a.m. on the day of the fight, you're not allowed to put more than £10 on.
See, that's fascinating.
After 10 a.m.
won't know that, will they?
After 10 a.m. you can again put on whatever you want. But in the morning, 8 a.m. is the £10 rule, and after that is...
So I remember talking about one of the UFC fights with Pereira recently, and from weigh-in to fight, £22 he put on.
Yeah,
that's just insane,
it's
isn't
stupid.
it?
So I'd done £16 by the time I get into the ring.
It's over a stone.
Just over a stone, yeah.
So, all right, well, look, it's been great to have you. I just want to... there's a couple more questions from my side. One is... I don't know if I covered it off earlier, so apologies if I'm repeating myself, but was there a defining moment in your career where you thought, hang on a minute, I've made this now, I think I can
Or I can hit the sort of elite level.
Yes,
you've got it.
I don't think there's ever been a point where I think I've made it. I've been able to take care of my family and do a job, a career that I'm passionate about. So years ago, I'd have to go out to work to still carry on fighting.
Yeah.
There was a point in 2014, so I've had 6 or 7 professional fights. I'm still working. And he's a good friend of mine now. And I went and seen him a couple of weeks prior to the last fight, Tom Stalker. He's from Liverpool. So he was the 2012 Olympic captain. He didn't medal in the Olympics, but he was one of our Great Britain's top amateur boxers, medalled in every tournament worldwide. So we're both 7-0 as professionals. I'm on the small hall shows where there's no TV cameras, getting paid a couple £100 to fight, kind of knowing my position, building. Tom turned professional with Eddie Hearn, matchroom boxing, and he'd had, I think it was, I lied to you, it was with Frank Warren, so he'd had 7 or 8 fights, but it's the 8th fight for both of us. We get matched off against each other. I'd gone down to London a couple of weeks prior to sign with Frank Warren. He said, why should I sign? We sat around a table like this, and I'd looked at the roster of fighters in my weight division that he had hold of, and I said, I'll beat them all. Not arrogantly, confidently.
So you've got the confidence.
So I said, I can beat him. And then he said, all right, prove it then.
Brilliant.
We had a terrific fight. I knocked him out in the 7th round. And it kind of, after that fight where your money starts to jump up a little bit, I can live for a couple of months now, I can afford my bills.
Well, that takes on nicely to the next point, because you mentioned there, taking the financial pressure off yourself, where you're now earning decent money, selling out arenas, you're boxing the big fights. You're on, I think, now your 3rd investment with API Global. You've just exchanged on Vivir. You've got one of the luxury collection. In fact, you're the only person who's got one of the luxury collection at the moment, because we've not released them. But how's your journey with API going? Obviously, we're not going to focus too much on that, but we've known each other for a little bit now.
It's been brilliant to connect with yourself and Lou. It's I think you need to have these kind of people around you that have got your interest at heart, the right kind of people. I think with sports people there's a lot of people trying to tap in, maybe for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
I think our connection was natural. I'm in a position where I can help give your company, maybe it doesn't need it, but I can help give that exposure through the fights that I'm having and the social media side of it.
Well, I think it's it benefits both sides, doesn't it? We were talking about this earlier. I don't really, from a PR standpoint, we don't do a huge amount of PR because we're a B2B business. We don't really need to. The PR for me that I enjoy and that we enjoy supporting are athletes and people like yourselves. If we can have a hand in taking the pressure off you a little bit and helping you climb the ladder through your career. Obviously, we can't be in the ring next year. I don't think I'd be much use either, but you certainly wouldn't. But we're really happy to have you as a client, mate. Both from a sponsorship standpoint and and as an actual investment client. You know, for us, it's really important. We acknowledge and we accept the fact that, you know, athletes have relatively short careers most of the time.
Yeah.
You can earn a lot of money quickly. Like you say, there's people sniffing around, there's vultures. For us, it's not about that. It's about working with you on your strategy and your investments, goals, and achieving those for you. So long may that continue, mate. Listen, I'm absolutely buzzing for you.
Thank you very much.
Is. We're really, really proud as one of your sponsors. And next year, mate, wherever that next fight is, we're going to be there with bells on.
Thank you very much.
So thank you. Thank you, Lewis. Thank you, Jack, for joining us, and best of luck, mate.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank
Cheers.
you.
Cheers, everyone.